Here, every past life feels real.
You were born not to the song of the sea, but to the creak of a cheap bunk in a port room that smells of salt, fish guts, wet wool, and old smoke. Behind the wall, someone is coughing like his lungs have already rotted away. Down on the dock, laborers are shouting. A rope rubs against a wet post. A boat knocks its side against the pier. They wrap you in rough cloth, and the first thing your skin learns is not warmth, but dampness, stiff fibers, and the cold air that always comes in from the water. You grow up among ropes, barrels, and talk about men who never came back. In your part of town, there are no real heroes. There are widows. There are children with empty eyes. There are men with bent fingers, torn ears, and faces the wind has worked over better than any knife. You learn early that the sea never feeds anyone for free. It takes fingers, teeth, legs, years, sometimes all of it at once. Fishermen drown, sailors vanish, and whalers leave for years and come back either with money or crippled or not at all. Your childhood is short. It ends not on the day you grow up, but on the day you were hit for the first time from moving too slowly on the wharf. You haul wet ropes, hand over hooks, scrape fish slime from boards, carry out buckets of waste. Your hands turn rough fast, your nails split, the bottoms of your feet harden. You get used to the taste of salt on your lips and to the fact that a good day is a day when nobody nearby dies. You hardly think about books, you hardly think about glory. You need work, any work. When you first see a whaling ship up close, it does not look beautiful, it looks heavy, thick hull, dark sides, wood soaked with tar, grease, and years of long voyages. The boats lie on deck. Below, there is space for barrels. That is where the blubber and oil will go if luck holds. If it does not, that space will hold only stink, damp, and emptiness. The ship looks like a floating barn, built not for speed, but for cargo and long endurance. That is exactly what many whaling ships of that century were. Heavy vessels built for months and years at sea, for casks, gear, and long labor far from home. You hear men on shore talk about the trade as if it is both a craft and an execution. They talk about whale oil burned in lamps and used for grease, about baleen used for things you have never even held in your hands, about high demand, about how the pay is not really wages, but a share, and if the voyage goes badly, you may come home with almost nothing. But you are young, empty, hungry, and still too foolish to be afraid in the right way. You sign on for the voyage before your mother has time to finish crying. They take you not because you are strong, but because a ship always needs extra hands. On the dock, they give you rough clothes, boots that have already belonged to someone else, and a place among men you do not know. On a ship like this, the crew is rarely from one place. There may be locals, island men, Portuguese, black sailors, men running from debt, men hiding from their past, men who simply have nowhere else to go. 19th century whaling crews were often mixed and pulled together from all along the coast and far beyond it. You leave port under a gray sky. At first, the shore still feels close. Then it becomes a low strip, then a stain, then nothing. The water around you becomes your whole world. The planks under your feet creak. The ship groans through its whole body. The ropes sing in the wind. You sleep packed tight among other men's snoring, wet clothes, sour breath, and the smell of tar. There's little room, too many bodies, no privacy. Even at night, someone is always coughing, cursing, vomiting, or whispering in his sleep. The first weeks break you in a simple way, without any grand drama. You throw up over the windward side and your stomach twists like it is trying to climb out through your throat. Your head pounds. Your legs do not trust the deck. You try to choose salt beef, but your mouth finds only grease, salt, and sickness. The water in the casks smells of wood and staleness. The hardtack is as hard as planks, and sometimes there are more worms in it than flour. The cook boils something gray in the common pot, and you eat not because you want to, but because otherwise you will fall over. Even then you understand it. All romance about the sea lives on land. The work runs by the clock, but the exhaustion does not. You scrub the deck, mend gear, clean metal, work the pumps, carry water, learn knots, learn to keep quiet when older men speak to you. A ship has its own order, simple and brutal. The captain is high above. Below him are the mates. Below them are the skilled harpooners. Below them are the men who already know how not to die too fast. You are near the bottom. A mistake at the top may cost cargo. A mistake below often costs teeth or blood. Nobody owes you kindness. When the sea is calm, they send you aloft to stand watch. You climb to the platform near the mast, and the height makes your fingers colder than the wind does. From dawn to sunset, lookouts scan the sea, often changing every couple of hours. They search for the spout, the tail, the shine of a back far off on the water. Standing there is not an honor, it is punishment. Your legs go numb, salt cuts at your eyes, your hands stiffen on the wood. But one day, from up there, somebody shouts into the emptiness, "There she blows!" and the whole ship comes alive like a wounded animal. You remember that first cry better than your own name. Men run. Someone is already unfastening the boats. Someone grabs the oars. Someone pulls the line. Harpoons ring against metal. Everything that a minute ago looked slow and rotting suddenly becomes fast, sharp, angry. The ship itself does not hunt. It only carries you. You will do the killing, in little boats, almost level with the water, almost level with death. They put you in a whaleboat, sixth man in. Your knees press into other backs and into the wood. The sea no longer feels wide, it feels too close. The oars slip into the water quietly, quickly, evenly. Nobody makes more noise than he must. You see the whale first as a dark back, then as a wall, then as something that should not even exist this close to a man. The air smells of salt and its breath, warm, animal, heavy. Your palms are wet. You do not pray, you simply do not have time. The harpooner rises, the boat rocks a little. Everyone freezes in a tension sharper than the cold. Then the strike. Metal goes into flesh. The world changes at once. The whale explodes the water with its tail. Spray hits you. So does the stink of warm blubber, foam, and living mass. The line screams through the boat so fast it can peel skin to the bone if you touch it in the wrong place. You saw old men on shore with fingers missing. Now you understand how they lost them. One hard pull, and the boat is dragged forward like a chip of wood. They call it a Nantucket sleigh ride, a pretty name for being pulled by a living mountain that can dive at any moment and drag you down with it. The first whale does not kill you. It only kills the person you were that morning. After the long chase, the lance blows, and the shouting you barely hear over the blood pounding in your ears, the beast begins to weaken. The water darkens around it, then reddens, then turns oily to the eye. The whale thrashes, breathes, slows, and finally lies still, huge and terrifying in its silence. The boat beside it looks like a toy. You stare at the eye and that giant head, and for the first time, feel not pride, but something like shame. But shame has no weight at sea, only the carcass does. The dead whale is towed to the ship and tied alongside for the night. In the morning comes the work men on land hardly think about. The hardest part is not throwing the harpoon. The hardest part is cutting. You stand on slick flesh, slicing, hauling, turning strips of blubber as if you are peeling the skin off the world. The air above the deck fills with the smell of blood, raw fat, and warm steam. Your hands slip, your boots slip, the knives do not stop. Then the blubber goes into the great trying pots and is boiled down in the ship's furnaces. On board a whaler, this becomes its own kind of hell. Heat, smoke, and boiling oil in the middle of the sea. At night, the vessel glows from those fires like a floating furnace. Black smoke trails over the water. Boiling fat spits and hisses. The planks beneath your feet grow sticky. Your clothes take in the smell so deep that it will never wash out. Never. Even when you return to land, people will know what you are before they see your face. You will smell of burned whale, old smoke, sweat, and long salt water. That smell becomes your second skin, sometimes your last memory too. The months pass, then more months. The shore exists only in your head. You stop counting weeks, you count barrels. Empty at first, then full, then too few again. The captain wants more, always more. Whaling voyages in the 19th century often lasted for years, and the longer they dragged on, the more the line between seasons, exhaustion, and ordinary life disappeared. There is no real home on board, no real rest, no day when you can stop being useful. Your body starts to pay. One sailor's gums swell and bleed. Another man's old wounds turn black. A third comes down with fever. A fourth breaks out in sores. The skin on your fingers splits, and the salt eats into the cuts like ground glass. At night, you wake with cramps in your legs. Your back burns after rowing and hauling casks. Your shoulders ache from the lines. Sometimes the wind is so cold your teeth hurt on their own. Sometimes the damp gets under your clothes and stays there for weeks. Then the north comes, or maybe just colder waters than any you have known before. The sky turns whiter, the wind turns meaner. In the mornings, a skin of ice lies over the deck. Frost gathers on beards and collars. Your fingers lose feeling, then begin to hurt as if they are being cut open. Someone mutters about ice that can squeeze a hull like a hand crushing a nut. Some whaling ships had stronger hulls because they worked near the ice and in northern waters, but planks' beams do not make men safe.
You hunt there too. The whale boats go down even in cold that tightens your lungs. You row in gloves soaked through with wet, and every drop in the fabric feels like iron. The water is black. The sky hangs low. The whale slips into the fog as if the fog itself gave birth to it. One day, a chunk of ice flips a boat with almost no warning. The man sitting across from you goes into the water with such a short cry that for a long time you wonder if he made a sound at all. They haul him out. He is alive. Then he is dead. At sea, there is very little distance between those two states. You get used to death, but not in the way a normal person would hope. You do not become braver. You just become duller to the end of others. At first, you remember every face, then only the names. Then even the names begin to blur. One fell from the rigging. One got caught by the line. One died of fever. One rotted from a small wound. One simply did not wake up. On a whaling ship, there is no good death, only quick and slow is more common. Sometimes luck comes. Several big catches in a row. The casks fill. The first mate goes a whole day without yelling at you. The cook even gives out an extra portion. You look at the pile of filled barrels in the hold, and for a moment you believe it was all worth something, that you will not come home empty, that you might rent a better room, buy boots not shaped by another man's feet, maybe even marry. Sailors live on these small hopes. Otherwise, any long voyage would break the mind before a storm ever tears the sail. But the sea does not like a man who grows calm. At night, a storm comes, not beautiful, not the kind from books, just heavy and stupid and violent. The waves hit not like water, but like walls. The yards groan, the ropes shriek, the deck vanishes under rushing water. You hang on to wet rigging while what hits your face is not rain, but freezing shot. At every roll, it feels as if one more hard shove will lay this whole house of planks, nails, grease, and men on its side forever. Someone prays, someone vomits, someone screams orders. You do only one thing: hold on. Morning leaves behind the usual bookkeeping of the sea. Torn gear, a split spar, skinned hands, one broken tooth, two missing buckets, blood in the seams of the deck.
and a man whose shoulder has been smashed so badly by a swinging block that the bone has gone somewhere it should not go. There are no doctors. There is a knife, a needle, rum, rope, experience, and luck, usually bad luck. 4 men hold him down while the older hand jerks the shoulder back in. You hear him howl and understand that sometimes the whale is kinder than the treatment. More time passes and you yourself move up a little. No longer a boy. You can row for a long time now. You know when to duck the line. You can tell a spout by the look of it. You can stand in a boat without swaying like a drunk. The younger men start to listen to you. That is your success. Not respect, not yet. Not safety. There is no safety here at all. Just this. You have become a man they will not throw aside first at the next mistake. At sea, that is almost luxury. Then one whale answers in a different way, not by fleeing, not by the usual dying struggle. It turns under the water and rises beside the boat so fast there is no time to pull away. The tail slams the side, the planks crack. One man flies into the sea, another falls onto you.
An oar snaps, the line tangles. In that instant, you see how thin the wood really is between hunter and prey. One blow, and you are gone. Many whalers died exactly that way, not in some grand battle, but in one short mistake between a boat, a harpoon, and a huge body in the water. You live, but from that day on, a pain settles in your left side. At first sharp, then dull, then constant. In bad weather, when you row, when you cough, when you live. You no longer sleep as you once did. Any sharp sound jerks you awake. In your sleep, you often hear the scream of the line, or the cry of the lookout, or the slap of the tail on the water. You are still young, but inside you are aging faster than men on shore age in 3 ordinary lives. Home begins to blur. Your mother's face no longer comes together clearly in your mind. You remember the street by the harbor better than your own room. Sometimes you catch yourself thinking not about going home, but simply about dry ground that does not move, about silence without the creak of beams, about water you can drink without the stink of a cask, about bread without worms. A man can dream very low when he has been kept at the edge too long. Not of happiness, of simple things, human things. When you finally return, the shore does not feel real at first. Houses are too straight. People stand too still. The air smells are earth, manure, firewood, smoked fish, and the smell feels almost holy to you. But you yourself are no longer fully a man of land. Your legs still search for the roll of the deck. Sleep comes wrong. A room feels too tight, and silence feels strange. You walk down the street and people look at you as if the sea has branded you. In a way, it has. They pay you less than you dreamed, always less. From your share, they take back advances, gear, clothing, and costs you only hear about now when it is too late to be angry. That is an old truth of the whaling trade. A man can spend years stinking of fat and blood and come home not rich, but only not entirely empty. You hold the money in your hand and feel no triumph, only weariness. Too much sea, too little silver. You try to live on land. You work on the wharf, sleep in a room without rolling, drink more than you meant to. Your side still hurts. Your teeth are worse than before the voyage. The skin on your hands does not soften again. Sometimes you hear a gull cry in the market and turn sharply, as if someone is shouting to lower the boats. The woman you wanted to speak to turns away when she catches the smell of your clothes, even though you washed them. A whaleman carries his work on him a long time, and land does not want that smell too close. But the money goes fast. Shore life spares no one. A room must be paid for, food too. The pain in your side keeps you from hauling as you once did. And so you stand again before the same kind of dark hull, looking at the boats, the sides of the ship, the men with faces that have almost become your brothers in misery. Now you know the truth all the way through.
You know how trying out smells when the blubber hits the fire. You know how fast a man disappears under a whaleboat. You know that a whale is not a monster and not a legend, but a living wall of flesh, strength, and suffering. And still, you sign on again. The second voyage breaks not your body first, but what is left of your hope. You are less surprised now, harder sooner, less interested in fairness.
One by one, the things that make a person soft begin to wear away. Pity, shame, the fine taste of food, love of cleanliness, the habit of looking far ahead. You live from watch to watch, from the cry of "there she blows" to the next one, from one full barrel to the next storm. That is how life passes, turning not into a story, but into one long work shift stretched across years. The final event comes without grandeur, not a giant whale, not a legendary storm, just an ordinary cold day, a wet deck, hurry while lowering a boat. The rope runs where you do not expect it. A jerk, you fall. It does not kill you at once. It breaks your legs so badly that the bone comes through the dirty cloth in a white point. The pain does not come like a scream. It comes like blindness. The world goes white, then black, then white again. Above you is the sky. Beside you are faces. Someone yells to carry you below. Someone curses the blood. And that is it. The hunt goes on because it always goes on. In the cramped space below, they pull, set, bind, and pour bad liquor into you. Your leg rots slowly. The fever rises fast. You lie there and listen to ordinary ship life going on above you. Footsteps, the creak of gear, the slap of waves, orders. The world does not stop because you are broken. That is the deepest insult of the work. You can give it everything, and it will not even notice the moment you stop being whole. For weeks you live between pain and delirium. Then you understand it. You will never walk properly again. They bring you back to shore alive. On paper, that means you were lucky. You did not drown, a tail did not crush you, you did not rot completely at sea. But now you are a lame former whaleman in a port already full of healthy men. You sit outside a workshop, do small repairs sometimes, tell sea stories to younger men sometimes, and they listen only as long as there is blood and storm in the telling. The long pain, the foul water, the worms and the hardtack, the years taken out of a life, those parts bore them. Young men always hear adventure in another man's ruin. Little by little, you become one of the men you looked at when you were a child. A harbor man, a face worked over by the wind, an uneven walk, hands that know rope better than tenderness. Children avoid you until they grow old enough to start envying your stories. Women do not see the sea in you. They smell bad luck. Sometimes you watch a ship leaving into the gray horizon and do not know which is stronger inside you, longing or gratitude that you are no longer out there. Here is your life in hard numbers. 2 long voyages, several years handed over to the sea, dozens of watches in freezing wind, more than 1 whale turned into casks of oil. You lost count of the cuts long ago. You have fewer teeth than you started with. 1 leg is ruined for good. The money bought you not a new life, only a delay in poverty. What you gained was rough skill, hard hands, and the ability to look death in the face without speaking. What you lost was your health, your youth, the smell of home, and the part of your soul that once believed hard work by itself promised anything. No monument remains after you. No great name remains. Maybe all that remains is a few lines in a ship's log, an old share written in an account book, and a memory in the minds of a few people that you limped and smelled of smoke from boiled blubber. That is your whole legacy. The huge animals you helped kill for light in other people's homes will outlast many of you even in death, in oil, in goods, in profit, and you yourself will remain almost nobody.
That is more honest than any legend. You wanted to earn money. You wanted to climb out. You wanted the sea to become a road upward. But the sea rarely lifts. More often, it grinds people down. Power always loves lives like this: hard, disposable, quiet. Survival gets sold as a chance, when really it is just a long form of wearing out. Freedom, you saw it out on the water, farther than any shore, and you learned the price. Freedom without strength is just a wide place where nobody is coming to save you. You lived the life of a 19th century whaleman. Not a song, not a myth, not an adventure. Hunger, blubber, smoke, cold, blood, long watches, short hopes. If this life felt heavy, remember the real lesson. Almost every great trade of the past was built not on glory, but on people who could be replaced fast. Look at that price one more time, and then decide for yourself how much light is worth if it is lit by this much darkness.
This fate is behind you. Enter the next story.